there and start herding the cats in.
Next Wi-Fi and
Yeah. You want me to see that presentation? And you have USB-C, right? You don't have HDMI?
I have USB-C and HDMI.
Oh, okay. Good. I'll get everybody to start.
I am, let's see, helping out other speakers. I wrangle speakers, and so I'm hoping I'm not left. But that's not, somebody might not show up, so if that happens, then I'm a speaker.
I don't know if it's just me, but
Yeah.
I feel like you can run up them really fast.
Yes.
Maybe we'll take some long strides. Okay, I think we're in good shape. Maybe I'll switch over to full camera. Do you have the HDMI plugged in?
Do you want me to plug it in?
No.
No, okay. Yeah, it's not plugged in.
Okay, great. No, I don't want that.
Okay, yeah, because it'll pop up my presentation.
Yeah, it'll pop your presentation up on the here, and
Yeah,
but not here, not onto the screen.
okay.
But yeah, when you're ready, I'll start introductions and
Yeah.
switch over to the full camera. All right. Could be a few more people. Yeah, they're wandering in. They're wandering in. Well, I'll give them a minute then. Because I mean, there was more people outside. I know I saw Hobson. He's probably just finishing up his pizza. He was eating pizza. He was eating pizza. Yeah, yeah. Well, we'll give him like another minute, and we'll do the thing. Okay. Sorry to the live stream people. You're just looking at my face, looking at a screen. I'm gonna go bug those people.
Trying to get into my email so that I can see the links and whatnot.
You've got the Wi-Fi. It's Qualcomm.
Yeah, but I can't get into my email.
Oh, it should be wide open. Qualcomm Hall.
Yeah.
It's just open.
Let's see. I need to do two-factor authentication, and my phone's not connected. Oh, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, I'm not getting cell phone signal here. You're gonna have to go outside.
That doesn't work with a bigger camera. There's about 80 people out there, but I'm just going to start. They're all eating pizza. All right. Well, I'm going to just get started. There's a couple people still outside there eating pizza, but we're gonna do it. All right. Well, welcome to San Diego Python. You're in the right place if that's what you're here for. So, awesome. Welcome. I do want to thank Qualcomm for having us here, and specifically Urivan and Drew, who kind of like helped smooth everything over, get us on the list with security, all that kind of stuff. So that's been awesome. I also want to thank Jeremy, my co-organizer, who helps wrangle all the speakers. And speaking of speakers, we would love you to be a speaker. We are always looking for talks at all skill levels for San Diego Python. And Jeremy and I are highly motivated to find speakers because we are the speakers of last resort. So if you do want to ever become a speaker, and like, you know, all skill level talks are great. They only have to be 7 minutes. You know, you don't have to push it. You can sign up on sandiegopython.org, our website. Maybe I'll do the thanks to the sponsor at the end of the introductions because some people are still coming in, so I'll do that at the end. Cool. Did have a couple other small announcements. If you're new to San Diego Python, you didn't know this, there's a Saturday group. It meets Saturdays at 10 a.m. It's a little bit different than this one. It doesn't meet in person, it meets on Discord. If you need a link to the Discord, you can get it on the website, sandiegopython.org. It's more of a bring your own project. There usually are not like a speaker lineup or something like that, so the structure's a little bit different. But usually people are like meeting in a voice channel in Discord and sharing screens and stuff like that. Sometimes they break out into smaller groups, usually 15 people, 20 people maybe, on Saturdays at 10 a.m. So check it out. If you need any info, it's either on the Meetup page or on our website, sandiegopython.org. Also on the website, it's got links to the GitHub, Discord. You can get involved in adding stuff to the site. It's got the code of conduct on there. It has a link to the YouTube channel where these presentations will be live streamed and recorded. And so like, if you remember a talk 2 months later and you're like, oh man, I want to refer back to it, assuming that I don't mess it up, because bringing a stream on the go is always problematic, but assuming I don't mess it up, it'll be there. So you can check it out, youtube.com/@SanDiegoPython. And then just a couple other announcements. I wanted to mention a couple upcoming events which are coming up. PyBay is September 21st. So that'll be before the next meetup. So if you're going to that one is like the slightly more corporate-y Bay Area Python event, as opposed to North Bay Python, which is a little more indie. And then DjangoCon US, I think like we're down to the expensive tickets now, but DjangoCon US, September 22nd in Durham, North Carolina. So awesome. And I know that they have digital tickets left, so if you want to do a digital ticket, those are reasonably priced. I know I mentioned talks, and then I figure most everybody's into the room now, so I figure I'll mention the sponsors. First, I want to thank Neo4j. They're the ones who provided the pizza for the meetup, so awesome. That's great. Neo4j provides a graph database that for certain types of operations can be orders of magnitude faster than a relational database. And you can download it and run it yourself, or they have a managed version in all the main clouds. So you could run a managed version in the cloud of your choice, or download it and run it locally. Awesome. So that's Neo4j. And then I also just want to thank our other sponsor, JFrog. They usually give me giveaways, but I don't have one right now. And they have a DevOps platform for continuous releases. For example, if you need to host like a PyPI inside your company firewall, that is what their product does, among other things. Very cool. I think that's all of my announcements. So without further ado, David Ward, you are our first speaker, and David's going to talk to us about a multiplayer game made with Python tools. And it has audience participation. Dun, dun, dun. Sorry?
Did somebody leave a water bottle out front?
Okay, somebody left a water bottle. No worries. Cool. David, you're up. I'll let you take it away.
Thank you. Thank you, David.
Yeah.
Okay. See if my presentation shows up here. Okay, hold on. Duplicate. I think it was my fault. See if that works. There it goes. Okay, thank you for having me. Today I'm going to present Get the Loot for the Python users group here. I appreciate you having me here and giving this presentation, so I'm going to get right into it. So what is Get the Loot? It is a Raspberry Pi 2W. I have it right here. Small little mini computer. It's running Python 3.11. I'm using the libraries Pygame, async.io, AIO, HTTP, and WebSockets. It operates a Wi-Fi hotspot that allows users to connect with their Wi-Fi enabled device. That's going to be your cell phone, just for your information. You could connect with a laptop, but let's use your cell phone. You'll have a much better experience. At least I hope so. It serves a web page that contains HTML5 canvas plus JavaScript, and it uses the AIO HTTP library. It runs a Python program with sounds, graphics, and game logic, which also communicates using a WebSockets library to the JavaScript on each of the web-enabled devices. And it's all wrapped using async.io tasks. So we're going to have a chance to play the game, and the winner gets a prize. Good luck, have fun. This is a demo. As you know, live demos frequently have problems, so it could just crash and that would nullify the game. So I hope that doesn't happen, but we're going to give it a try. This is an interesting experiment that I wanted to put together, so here it is. I would suggest with your Wi-Fi enabled device, if you're using an Apple, I would suggest trying Chrome over Safari. I've seen some strange behavior I cannot explain. I don't have an iPhone myself, so I can't experiment with that. But anyways, I have also seen it work with Safari, so I don't know. Do your best. Crashes do happen. I don't know why. Like I said, the game controls will rotate with your cell phone. And here's the examples of what they will look like. And let's see, I'm going to go ahead and get ready here. And then if you cannot connect to the server, I'm asking you maybe to get a little bit closer so you can connect to the Wi-Fi server. So there is a prize. Like I said, it's going to be this Starbucks gift card, $10. Whoever gets the high score. Let's hope we can get there. As you'll see in my disclaimers, if the game malfunctions, I don't owe you anything. So good luck. Okay, let me see now.
So we need to connect to your Wi-Fi network, right?
That's correct. Here it comes.
Can I use that strategy with my wife too?
Yeah.
Let's see how that goes.
Okay, connect to Wi-Fi server, Dave's server. Browse to. You can select the IP address 192.168.2.1 from your browser window. Or you can try http://Dave's game. When we get enough players, the timer will start. There are 5 levels. This is not the first level. Yeah, we have a player. One player came and then left, unfortunately. All right, we have a couple of ducks. All right, they're moving. Okay, I think I have the game set for a minimum of 10 players. So if I don't get 10 players, it won't start.
And we'll just see a loading bar at the very top when it starts, right?
It'll advance to the first level.
Okay.
And that's when the game actually starts. Okay, we have 4 players. 5 players. And there is sound. I don't know if it's coming through yet. Oh, I heard a cash register. That's good. Okay, 5 players. Need 5 more. Did we get up to 6 yet? I think there's a 6 there, right? Yeah, 7? Great. Okay, 3 more. Okay, we've got 8. Oh no! Oh. Well, I guess 8 was the limit. Okay. Okay, let me try one more time. Yeah, this will be a short presentation if we can't get past 8 players. Okay, let's see now.
It looked cool.
It did look cool.
Oh, I wish we could get to level 1 at least. Okay, let's see. Okay. Yeah, I can't explain it, unfortunately.
Anybody else have trust issues?
Yeah, you probably will. You probably will. That's almost certainly going to be. Yeah.
It's not that fun.
Yeah. Yeah, that probably will happen. Actually, since it is a hotspot, it tries to give you some access so that your phone won't complain that it doesn't have internet access. So it's actually connected to the Qualcomm Open Wi-Fi server or Open Wi-Fi network so that you will get something. Otherwise, it'll say you don't have internet access and it'll try to disconnect. So, okay, let's try one more.
Two channels, 2 radios?
It does have 2 radios.
So it's like a bridge.
That is correct, yeah. It tries to, okay, so I'll give you, let's try it again. I guess I have my doubts now that we went through it once and maybe we'll get up to 8 players. I guess it crashes at 8. Because I was watching it, I think we were either 7 or 8 and then it crashed. Okay, I'll give you another chance. Let's see.
Frames per second in the upper right corner.
Yeah, that's it. I could talk about that in a.
It's not struggling at all. Like
Well, yeah, it won't go to 60. I can tell you that. I tried. Okay, so it must be so there's no internet, so it won't let you connect, right? Yeah, I probably have to reboot the machine. Okay. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to promise to come back and try again someday, but
Bring lots of Starbucks cards.
yeah, that's right. That's right. Oh, that's too bad. I was hoping we'd get past the presentation. Okay, so I'll explain this one. So since I have more time, since we didn't get to play the game, here's an example of. I think this is level 5. As you can see, well, what you may or may not know, if you can see my mouse pointer here. Yeah. So there's a door there. There's a door. This is a plank or a button, and the players will appear in this area. And if they stand on these buttons, the doors will open. And so this would be a door opening here. Then the players can get in here and get some of that loot. If 5 players stand on this button, that'll actually open this door. So this level was structured so that one player will stand on this button, opening the door. The other players can come in and get some loot. Well, that one player will be stranded there unless they can find 5 friends that will stand on that button for them to open this door over here. And of course, if that door opens, then those players can go in there, or that one player can go in there and grab that loot, you see. So that was one of the 5 levels. And there's other levels that have different variations on those kinds of themes, where either you help people or you compete against people. So that's kind of the idea. And I really hope at one point I can show it off to you. Okay, so I'll finish the presentation regardless of the fact that I couldn't get it to work. And as I had said, yeah, you know, it's a live demo, so those kind of things can happen. So some help wanted and maybe some ideas if you have ideas on this type of technology. My frame rate was limited to 30 frames per second, or approximately 30. And that turned out to be due to the SDL library. And that library is used in lots of gaming technology, but there's an issue with Raspberry Pi. I need to learn how to compile that source with different settings, and I failed miserably. I tried to get help from the Pi game community, and they just gave me a few suggestions here and there. But if I could fix that problem, I could eliminate that frame rate issue, and I could easily achieve 60 frames per second or even higher. A captive portal would be a really nice thing if you know what a captive portal is. It's the item that invites you into a Wi-Fi hotspot. It'll say, hey, you're connected. How would you like to, would you register or whatever? And that type of technology could bring up the web page immediately. And instead of having people try to type in the IP address in their browser, that's ridiculous. I want to get that captive portal working, but I'm really struggling, and I just haven't been able to figure it out. There's, a few tutorials that I found, and ChatGPT doesn't help, it seems like. I don't know. I'm really frustrated with that. And then finally, if there's any other ideas for this technology or collaboration opportunities, I'd be happy to hear those. And does anybody have any questions, since I do have a few more minutes?
Yes.
Go ahead.
How does it work? I mean, you get into the website, and when I move the cursor, it sends commands via sockets, or what kind of?
So it's using a WebSocket library. So WebSockets is a fairly well documented communication protocol. And yes, that's sending some kind of packets back and forth and utilizing handshakes so that both client and server are well synchronized and are resilient to dropped packets or a lost communication, those types of things. And I'm not convinced that all the libraries being used really implement it correctly because it's beyond me to figure out ways to test them. But it's using a WebSocket library. WebSockets library is supported by many tools. So in this case, JavaScript supports WebSockets, and so does Python. Yeah, go ahead.
Do those packets contain like the XY position of all of the characters and it's just sending updates?
It's sending the information on the joystick control. So the joystick movement is computed as a delta X, delta Y. And it sends that information to the server, which is the Python code. So then I just take delta X and delta Y and I compute a new position.
And so the actual characters are rendered on the canvas on the server side?
That's correct. Yes, that's right. The JavaScript is actually doing very little, right? It's translating finger positions, right? Motion on the touch positions, and it's figuring out where's the joystick location. And then once it gets that location information, it forms a packet out of it and sends it using WebSockets to the server. And that's it. Now, JavaScript, is at least capable enough to draw just about anything you want. So I'm able to also draw, the joystick moving and things like that. Does that answer your question? Yeah, okay. Any other questions? Did you have a question? Go ahead.
How long did it take you from concept to completion?
That's a tough question because I actually had some ideas on this several years ago, and I started working on implementing just little demos. As a matter of fact, I have done some demos that ran successfully, but as a matter of fact, the maximum number of people I had at one time was 8 players. It was not this game. It was a different kind of game, much simpler, as a matter of fact. It just had circles and squares and lines. It was a very little graphics to the game, and that's about all I can say. I had another earlier version of this game that I tried with 5 people, and I was successfully able to run it. But it didn't have doors or buttons. It just had some dollar signs that you would pick up. That's all it had.
How many days from the first line of code on this game to today?
Yeah, let's see. Probably a couple months. Yeah, but I didn't work on it every day, of course, right? I've in between these concepts, I've already published, I think 5 games. These are game jam games. They're not really very good. I'm just going to admit. So, and I presented here one other time a game I developed in a game jam, and actually won $50. in that development. So I actually made money making games. I can say that. Okay. Any other last questions? Go ahead.
Yeah, so what was one problem that you had to learn to solve that you didn't know about before? Like you could see some things that, okay, I have an idea of how to put this game together, but what's one problem that you ran into that said, okay, I didn't know I was going to run into this, how do I fix it?
So I think the first thing that pops in my head is that I'm going to have to learn JavaScript. And I'll tell you, Python is advanced, at least in the web world, enough to actually run Python on a web browser now. There's several libraries, Pyodide, you've heard me mention Pigbag before, which I use in my game projects, which will allow you to run a game on the web. But those tools have underlying, they have underlying utilization of JavaScript. So even though you could try to stay in the Python world, you're still writing JavaScript essentially. And so you run into problems at some point. And I said, you know what? I just better do JavaScript. And so I did. And I found it really wasn't that hard. And I'm not really going to say much else, like whether I loved it or I hated it. I hear those kind of comments all the time about JavaScript. But regardless, I was able to get it to work. So I was pretty happy. Yeah, go ahead.
Just a quick question. So what has motivated you to, instead of developing, for example, a thin client and then dedicated, for example, to develop a specific server on your hardware, to do it as a, web client?
Okay, you're going to have to explain what a thin client is versus a web client. I guess I'm not familiar.
So right now you're using the browser to interface with your application.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So
yeah.
why not, for example, developing that as a standalone code that you can install via pip command and run it on a client?
Oh, well, because then I couldn't get you to do it, right? If I was here, I'd have to say, go download some piece of software and install it on your laptop or your cell phone, and you wouldn't do it. You'd say, well, that's nice, but I don't really want to install a new app. Or
So easy of usability is the only reason?
That's really true. In my opinion, I can't, that's why I publish games to the web. People still publish games to the web in the sense of the source. I mean, not the source, the executable, right? Go join a game jam and you'll see .exe files for Windows computers, right? They put them on there and say, oh, download my game and play it for me. And I'd really love to get some feedback. And you look at that and you say, no way I'm running that thing. No way, right? So the same with this. If I give you some executable in any way, shape, or form, you're not going to run it because you're going to say, this is a security violation. You think connecting via web is a security violation. Think about executables. No way anybody will ever run your game. So you have to come to the least common denominator on that aspect. Now, I'm not saying it's impossible. There's a company called that makes a program called Air Console. Air Console is a web or an app, right? You download that app, and then you can connect to somebody's video game to provide multiplayer video game. So that actually does work, but you have to pay for it, right? It's a service you have to pay for. Okay, so I think I'm out of time. I appreciate. Okay, last question. My games are, yeah. You can look up. I forgot what my itch account is, but it's something like David Ward or let's see, one of my games. This game is based on a game called Dave's Big Family Adventure. If you look that up, you'll find my itch.io account, and you'll see doors and buttons that are just like this, but it's a single player game. It's not multiplayer. Okay, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Okay, there's some other presenter coming.
So,
So Charles isn't here, right?
not that I'm aware of. let's
We had a
see.
speaker signed up, Charles. Charles isn't here, right? I didn't think so. Okay, yeah, we'll go to the next speaker.
Okay. Let's see.
You want to do the intro? Or you want me to?
Yeah, let's see. I can do an intro. Let's see. Let's see.
Well, how about I do it while you
Oh,
set up?
yeah, yeah.
How about that?
Where are the?
So the next speaker is Sarah, who unfortunately couldn't be here. She's like a local regular, but she couldn't be here today, and so she recorded her talk and sent it to us. So this is awesome. So Sarah Sanger is going to talk to us about intro to Git with 2 repositories. So we're getting it all set up, and then we'll play it. Let me make sure I get the HDMI.
I'm just going to do a little tutorial about how to set up 2 repositories so that you can contribute to open source projects. I am doing a walk.
We have to pause it just for a moment while we can fix or get audio.
Should I move this out of the way? Maybe I'll move this.
Oh, let's see. We're good.
I think the audio is good.
Can you guys hear in the back?
Did you turn up the senior citizen one?
Yeah.
I
Let's
think
see.
we can.
I've got this maxed out. So
Yeah, okay. Let me see. We'll see if I can turn up something here.
Put your microphone for the speaker closer to your speaker.
No, there is something. It's not this speaker.
uh-huh.
There's like the HDMI output should be picked up by the room audio. So yeah, it should work.
Through of Hack for LAs because they have this very lovely contributing guide in their wiki. There will be a link. I'm not sure where the link will go, but there will be a link, and this is just step-by-step directions
We're gonna
on.
restart it.
Okay.
I'm just going to do a little tutorial about how to set up 2 repositories so that you can contribute. Oh, Jesus! Open source projects. I am
Whoa,
doing a
sorry.
walkthrough of Hack for LAs because they have this very lovely contribute.
Let's see. Just to let everybody know, we do actually have. Let's see. Sarah's ready for Q&A afterwards, and so she doesn't know she's. Let's see. Available by audio.
Goes 2 ways.
Let's see. I gotta figure out where the tabs are.
We're working on it.
Hang on. I gotta. Let's see. Hey. There we go. I'm gonna. We're gonna start the video. We'll watch this, but let's see. Jesus.
Sorry, it was really loud.
Oh yeah, let's see. I've been trying to turn it up. Let's see. So there we go. There we go. Let's start this. 3 times the charm. So
Tutorial about how to set up 2 repositories so that you can contribute to open source projects. I am doing a walkthrough of Hack for LAs because they have this very lovely contributing guide in their wiki. There will be a link. I'm not sure where the link will go, but there will be a link, and this is just step-by-step directions on doing what we're about to do. So first steps first, we're going to want to fork the repository, and so we'll just go to the repo, then we go to fork right up here. You will have an option to fork if you are actually allowed to fork. Oftentimes you are not allowed to fork. You don't have the permissions for it, which is fine. There is another way to fork, which I'm happy to demonstrate because this is just there would just be a button here. You would press the button. I have an old website and I have an old repo that is not permitting me to do it. I might also not have permissions anymore because I haven't worked with them in a long time. So the other way to do this is you're going to come over here. You're going to copy the URL. You're going to go to wherever you want to stick this. We're going to projects. and we are going to git clone, and then we will post the URL in. And it looks like I already have this here, which is great because now we don't have to sit through me downloading this. Let me just double check. And projects. Yep, that is all there. And so the next thing I'm going to do is going to move into that repo and check what my remotes are. So the remote is the origin, and that's going to be any repository that you git clone. And so if I had git cloned this from my repository, it would give me my URL for that repository. We will be changing this later so that the website, the Hack4LA website, is going to be the upstream, and that mine will be the origin. And so I actually think I have to push that up. So we are going to do, I have already created a empty repository, and I'm sure you all know how to make a repository. You just hit create new up here and then name it. It's pretty easy. But we're going to go ahead and copy this, and I'm going to do a git, we should check to see what branch is here too. Git branch, okay, it's GH pages, so we're going to do git push. I'm going to paste in the URL from my empty repo. I'm going to add the GH pages. And my internet's really slow, so we're going to pause it there, and I'm not going to make you watch paint dry. Okay, so it took long enough, but it looks like it's finally pushed up. Let's check. And it is. Here it is. Okay. But the remote's not set, right? So we have to fix the remote settings. So we are going to, I believe this will work. Let's double check. Git remote set URL origin, and then I'm going to paste in the URL to the repo I just created and pushed up to. It would help if I spelled it correctly though, yes? There we go. Git remote -v, and as you can see, whereas before it was the Hack4LA's URL, and now 'tis mine. Okay, and now we're gonna we're gonna add the upstream, right, which is going to be this one up here. So I'm just gonna go ahead and grab and copy. And then, nope, that is not where I want to scroll down at. Here we go. And we're gonna do git remote add upstream, and you could really add any word here. This is kind of standard practice though. And let's check our remote. Okay, we have an origin and upstream, and just be careful about spelling those correctly. Alright, now that we have that, we are going to, let's create a new branch and then push that up to my repo. So new branch is going to be git checkout -b new branch, and pardon me, that is my new branch. I do have to make some sort of change on it, so I'm gonna have to crack open. Actually, I think I could just open the folder and make a change directly in the guide pages. And we're just going to make a little change. Oh, it just opened it in HTML. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and open with a text editor. And now we have it in the text editor. We're just going to add a line because that's what we're going to do. We're going to save it. And let's go back to here, get status. And you can see that you can see the folder I made the change to, you can see the file I made the change to, and if I do a git diff, I will see right here with that little plus sign that that is the change that I made. So I'm just going to do a git add and a git commit with a fun little commit message, made a change. And now I'm going to push it up to my origin. Git push origin. And what's the name of my branch? New branch. Okay, new branch. And I've made that change. And as you can see here, I can create the pull request now. Made a change. Now, the Hack4LA repo, they have added a lot of functionality to their GitHub and their GitHub actions so that you can pull up a template about what kind of changes you've made. Like, this is not standard. This is mostly because Hack4LA is run by project managers who are trying to make project manager work. But I'm going to go ahead and create the pull request. And then I can go over here. I can see there are 2 pull requests. This is from my dependencies from GitHub Actions, which is a different thing. And as you can see, here's the made a change. And it is still running through all of the checks. And it looks like it failed some GitHub actions, and that's probably because I did not fill out this correctly. Let's see, did it show up here as well? Okay, good, because sometimes it also shows up there. But yeah, not all the checks are passing. I can go ahead and merge that, right? Because there's no conflicts. Squash and merge is better. Rebase and merge I'm less familiar with, but squash and merge just squashes all of the commits that are made in the branch so that when it's merged into the code base, you just see the commit message and the commit of adding the branch to the code base, and that's about it. So now you can actually, let's see, you can actually go ahead and make some changes in that I didn't point out. Let's change something else. Let's go ahead and create a new branch. Git checkout -b, new branch 2. We will make the change on our new branch. Let's add another line, we'll save it, we'll get commit, we'll get add, and that adds it to the staging area, and git commit makes the change. And there it is, and we should see it here. There it is, compare and pull request. And here you can actually change where you're merging it into. If I had permissions on this, you would also see the Hack for LA website. And again, we can make the changes here. And I just wanted to go ahead and show you that. That is a pretty basic demonstration of how to use Git to push up to your repo. Now let's say you wanted to make a change, you wanted to push that up to the upstream, which I don't really want to do because I don't want to make these, I don't want to ask them to review these changes or make them. I would do git push upstream new branch, and that would send that up to them. And I can get updates from both of the origin and the upstream by git pull origin main, right? And that is just the name. So git pull name of the URL, name of the branch. That is all that is. And I can do that with origin, and I can do that with upstream. Or it would be GH pages because that's the branch we have here. Main is the standard name. Or you could, I'm not sure what I was going to say there. Oh, you could actually just paste the URL in here, right? You could just paste that URL. That is, when we set the remotes, we're just making it so that we don't have to paste the URL directly in. And then we hit main and we do that. So yeah, that is a very basic setting, like setup for, I know there's Rebase, which I am looking forward to spending some time learning, but I haven't got there yet. I mostly just merge. Mostly I'm merging, and if I can squash, I'll squash. I have written up this. I will also put this link into the into wherever I put my links for this talk, and this will walk you through on how to move through the branches, right? How to check out a branch, how to create it. Checkout-B creates a new branch. Git checkout that will just switch your branches. This is, you know, how to change the upstream, like how to pull, right? So yeah, that's pretty much it. Nothing too fancy. And if anyone has questions, feel free to reach out. Thank you.
Sparkle cleans everyday messes, and it won't clean out your piggy.
There we go. All right, I guess I don't need to, I'll see, unmute this, or do you get it? Too much reverb if I turn off.
If we get reverb, I'll let you know.
Okay.
I've unmuted both, so hopefully it doesn't just blow off.
All right. Let's see. So, do we have any questions? Not so far. Let's see. The more that you know about Git, the more that this GitHub will make sense.
Just not a question, but a comment. Git add dot. Please don't do that.
Oh man.
Try to use the actual file names or folders that you're attempting to add, because when you're working on a project where multiple collaborators actually push content and you're working with different configuration, you know, someone might be using CRLF as an inline, and then when you check out something, you have now like 300 files that are actually changed automatically by your own commit. I mean, like checkout. Doing git add dot can be more damaging than really, you know, making the purpose that you're trying to achieve.
So don't do get add dot because of
That's really valid on larger projects, particularly since Git has this thing where like you can push up files that actually aren't committed, which is weird, which is a weird thing we discovered when we were working with it. And you can end up with a bunch of files in your repository that aren't committed. So yeah, when you're working with a lot of people and you're working on big projects, that is a very valid point.
You can avoid all that if you just use -am instead of just m, and that will automatically add only files that have been added before. Correct. So it will not add any new files, and that's the problem with get add dot.
I was wondering what that -am was about.
It's add.
auto add, but only change or only changed existing files. Yes.
So my question is there a standard way to communicate branch names to the team members?
Is there a standard way to communicate branch names to team members?
Usually each team has some kind of format that they want their branch names in. So unless they don't care at all, but usually, yeah. And it's somewhere in the documentation or someone comes and yells at you about it.
Yeah.
Some teams, as a comment, some teams, let's say if you have, GitHub and you integrate with, let's say, Jira or any other ticket system, it's very useful to use a combination of the ticket system for the tracking number. So whoever is actually pushing changes are able to directly relate, or you can automate the checking of PRs with the naming standard, and then you can correlate some of the information from that PR directly with the ticket. So, having those.
Yeah, GitHub actually has Git issues. If you you can actually create issues in GitHub and then link the issue to the pull request. And I don't know if you saw that in the template that Hack4LA pulled up, but like if you hit if you hit pound and then the number of the issue, it'll automatically create a link to whatever GitHub issue.
Thank you.
Can I add?
Thank you. Yeah.
So, related to that, at work we use a ticketing system called Shortcut. And the nice thing about Shortcut is in that interface, you can just say copy branch name or copy the command to create a branch. And so that's what we use at work, where we use Shortcut as our ticketing system. And then basically when you work on something, you just copy the branch name from there and everyone uses the same.
So there's this combination of ticketing system with Git and GitHub issues, so that you don't have to have your let's say the documentation about a particular bug in in the GitHub repo itself. Let's say it happens in Jira and let's say other ticketing management systems. Yes.
So I think that the takeaway that I get from this is that if you start a project and plan to collaborate with other humans, you should probably define this up front. There should be some kind of style guide and also some kind of a team agreement on how we use source control. The one thing that I found out is that the fail modes for Git are almost infinite. And if you don't have some agreement on how you're going to work, you will really regret it 6 months down the road when your team has grown to 12 and now you can't even understand your Git history anymore. So it's a good thing if you're doing it for yourself, do what you want. I'm not the boss of you. But if you're working with other humans, then it's a good idea to come to an agreement up front on how you're going to work.
I'm sorry. There was one other question over here. Let's see. Yes. Yeah.
Oh, no, I was going to add.
Okay.
One, you just mentioned, yeah, if you prefix the branch with the ticket number, Jira could automatically link it.
Yeah, Jira ticket.
Mm-hmm.
An actual question. What's your favorite Git command for getting you out of a pickle or figuring something out about your repo? Do you have a favorite Git command? Or least favorite?
Git remove. I like Git remove. That's a good one.
What does it do?
It removes the file from the Git index.
Opposite of get add.
Yes. It is delightful.
Get reset. Get reset.
Oh, get reset.
Also another good one, Git revert. Yeah.
I never make mistakes. Because we got someone else to be.
Or when you're trying to merge, different PRs and someone didn't actually use the right base code, git checkout dash patch.
Oh.
Go ahead with it and just do all the actual elements of all the different commits.
Wow. That's painful.
Did anyone here for force push, or is that frowned upon?
Is force push frowned upon?
We actually don't allow it.
I rarely use it. I have found occasions where I have to use it if there is a branch that I have pushed up and made change. Like there's just some weird funky places where it's like you have to use it. I think it's if you've pushed a branch up and then made changes to it upstream. I can't remember, but there is a good reason to use it, but I generally don't. Oftentimes I'll just make a new branch off the branch that I'm on. I'm like, oh, this branch is done. I am just gonna make a new branch and push that up because it's just less messy.
I do it a fair bit, but I'll get to that. Can I ask a question real quick? So towards the end of your video, you said you look forward to learning about rebase. Did you get to that?
No, I made that video 2 days ago, so it has not happened. Do you have good resources?
I don't know. I learned from friends, but I was gonna say I force push whenever I do rebase.
You kind of have to. If you have a public branch in your rebase, you have to. More than often than not, you're gonna have to.
It says he kind of has to do a force push whenever he does a rebase. So
That sounds right. Yeah.
we're getting a lot of nodding heads now, though. So,
Or if you have a release candidate and you actually didn't properly code it.
Just write it. That sounds like experience.
all right. Thank you very much for the presentation. And let's see. We'll get to...
Can she see us?
She could if I turn the laptop around, but let's see. No.
I wave. I can hear you guys. What?
Hi, Sarah.
Thanks, Sarah. Oh, she probably missed that because you unplugged.
Yep.
All right. Our last speaker of the evening is Andrew Buensalida, and he's going to talk to us about LangChain. And hopefully everything works. I think I probably have to switch a couple audio settings, but you should be good. I think it's this one here. Here, I'll just get this one. Hopefully it just works. How's everyone doing? Good. Yeah. So, have you guys used LangChain yet? Or a few people? Cool. Or OpenAI at least. All right. So, just get started. Former Department of Homeland Security lead full stack software engineer. I am also open to work or consult if your company needs any large language model application. I'll show my contact information at the end. But so I could start by defining what RAG is. Have you guys heard of RAG before? Okay, retrieval augmented generation. So
I'll just show you guys a picture. So let's say you have a corpus of knowledge, like some data. Let's say you have a bunch of resumes in PDF form. So if you look on the left side, that represents the PDFs. So basically, what RAG is it takes those PDFs and splits it into chunks. And then it converts those chunks into embeddings, which are like, it's an array, a list of basically floats, numbers, vector embeddings. And then it stores those vector embeddings into a vector database. So when you have a question, it converts your question into a series of numbers, and it takes like the most similar vectors to your question. It takes like the top 5 most similar chunks based on your question, and it sends those top 5 chunks to the large language model, which is, for example, OpenAI in the code I'm going to show you later. But you can use other large language models like Anthropic or Llama. So what is LangChain? LangChain is basically a framework that allows you to create this RAG applications. It could also help you create content generation apps, chatbots. You use Python or TypeScript with it. So to dig deeper, what are vector embeddings? So it's basically a numerical representation of data. It's only optional for RAGs, but it does help. So vector search. So the alternative to vector search is keyword search, which is like Google, right? So based on what you ask Google, it'll search like the exact word. But vector search is better for broad and fuzzy searches. So if you misspell the word, it'll pick it up better than keyword search. Although keyword search is better for more precise queries. But the thing is, like, if you misspell a word in keyword search, then it won't get the correct result. So just to visualize what vector embeddings are, so let's say in the up and down axis is the dimension of male or female, whereas the left and right axis, you could think of maybe how distant you are, like how distant the family member is. So if you look at this graph, it's only 3 dimensions, but when it comes to vector embeddings, there's usually like, in this case, it's 1,500 dimensions. So you can't really visualize the vector embeddings. So RAG. So Pinecone is an example of a vector database. It's in the cloud. Other examples of vector databases are Chroma, which is a local vector database, Postgres, pgvector, which is from Postgres, which is Facebook's in-memory vector database. And I could walk through the code. So this is to load the PDF. So in this example, I have just 3 resumes. An example resume would look something like this. So I would load those PDFs and load it into Python. It would look like this. It shows 11 documents because each page of the PDF is one document. So that's why it's 11 documents. And then this is the text splitter. So each document is split into even smaller chunks. For example, the chunk size, you could set the hyperparameter to 500. But I noticed that when dealing with large language models, it's very important to like tweak the hyperparameters so that you get the results you want. But in this case, 500 means 500 tokens per chunk size. I should probably explain why or what's the benefit of RAG. So the benefit is, let's say you have this big corpus of data. It would be impossible because to send it to, let's say, ChatGPT, because the context size, there's a limit, right? But the higher end models nowadays, you could probably send like a whole novels of data, but if you're on a budget, you're gonna use like the lower end models, which the context size might not be as big. So the purpose of RAG is like you have a corpus of data, and if you ask it a question, it'll take like the top five most similar chunks from that corpus, and that just the top five, you send it to the large language model. So it'll save time, it'll save tokens. So that's the purpose of RAG. So the next step would be splitting the, we split the documents, the PDFs into chunks, and now there's 56 chunks. And this is what an embedding looks like, an example of it. So we take this text, how are you? It'll embed it. It'll convert that how are you text into an array of floats. In this case, it's 1,536 dimensions. So in order to use the Pinecone Cloud Vector Database, you just need to register on their website to get a free API key. You create the index and you upload the chunks to the Pinecone database. So now when I ask it, what is Matthew Borger's experience, for example, since K is 4, like that's a hyperparameter saying just get the top 4 chunks that are the most similar with this query. So these are the top 4 chunks that Pinecone returned. So if we could read one, for example. So this is like a segment of one of the resumes. This is another segment of one of the resumes. And here is where we sort of define the class for the RAGbot. We wrap some of the methods with traceable so that I can show you every time we call the large language model, it'll show you like the trace basically. So for example, first it retrieved the documents from the vector database, which is the step 1, and then like the top 10 chunks here, it sent it to the LLM, which in this case is OpenAI. If you guys have any questions or if I'm like going too fast, just let me know. So basically the main function to get the answer is get answer. It first retrieves the documents, the chunks from the Pinecone vector database, and then it sends those chunks to the OpenAI API, which is OpenAI isn't free. It could get expensive. When I was like messing around with LangGraph, it costed me like $5 for 1 hour of like testing. So just be careful that you don't send too much tokens. So for example, now I could ask it, what is Sarah Uran's experience? So the answer was Sarah Uran has extensive experience in scientific communication, business development and research. She worked as a scientific researcher at Spawar, focused on marine ecology. So the answer is pretty accurate. And also it depends on the use case. Like if, I found that summarizing information is a good use case for RAG. But if you were to ask something like, who has experience in Python, like the filtering type of use cases, it might not get it right. As you can see, the answer is Andrew Buensalida has experience in Python, but also Matthew Borger also has experience in Python, but it didn't pick up on that because it also depends on the version of the model you use. This one is 3.5, GPT 3.5 Turbo. It could have varying results if you use GPT 4.0 Turbo. But what Pinecone allows you to do is you could use keyword search in conjunction with vector search. So you just have to implement that, and your the LLM's responses will be more accurate. Is that oh yeah,
What's that context part of the message?
The context.
Sorry, I'll think of the metadata is what I was thinking of, not the context. Sorry.
Yeah, so the context, so each item in this array, context array, is a chunk. So these are the top 10 chunks that Pinecone retrieved, and then after that you send these top 10 chunks to the large language model, and then the large language model does its magic and creates this sentence right here. But each chunk has metadata. It has what page number it is. It has what PDF file name it is. So all of that gets passed into the large language model. Yeah.
So that's where it would connect the name of a person with those skills. Because when you're looking for that question, who has experience in Python, it's going to look for those words like experience in Python. It's going to find that in the resume, but it's not going to know the person unless that person appears in the metadata.
Right, and it's interesting, like out of all these top 10 chunks, only one of them contained the word Python. So, so it's the vector embedding. So I'm guessing other programming languages like Java, HTML are sort of in the same general direction vector embedding as Python. That's why it's included in the top 10 chunks. You had a question?
Yeah, your search is in vectors. When you report the results, are those in vectors that are converted to text, or do you go back and retrieve the original text?
No, we just this one just retrieves the chunks, like the segments of the text. Yeah, but yeah, in theory, since we know like the data, what the PDF file name is, you could retrieve the whole PDF file name. But I guess the purpose of RAG is to limit, because if you retrieve like the whole PDF, then the token is going to be kind of large, which might increase the cost. So.
Is this only in English now?
What do you mean?
Well, okay, because for example, in some languages, you don't just have uncle and aunt. You could have uncle from the second brother of the wife, or just all kinds of convoluted. Each one has its own term.
Mm. Oh, I see.
Which can get really complex just for something like relatives.
Well, it uses ChatGPT. So if ChatGPT knows the difference, then it'll work here. Yeah.
They're multilingual models that have embeddings that work across languages, for all languages.
Mm.
So you can be asking the question in English where the actual content is on Chinese?
Yeah, you could, and you just have to tell it, hey, answer in Chinese or answer in English.
We could actually test it live right now. Does anyone know Mandarin?
Well, even if they did, how would they tell you how to input it?
Let's see, you had a recursive character text splitter,
Mhm.
and I was wondering about whether or not it was multi-language as well. How does it know where to split the characters if it's like a two-character split? And some languages have two characters as a single letter.
Mm.
So.
Yeah, the vector embedding function I use is also from OpenAI. So whatever OpenAI does.
What language are you writing there? Sino, May?
This is Tagalog, Filipino. I wonder if it'll pick it up.
Yeah. Nice.
Hmm.
You're asking.
So I guess that works. It works in Tagalog too. The responses.
Better answer too.
Yeah. So it says there's no information amongst the resumes. Yeah. This is really deep Tagalog. Yeah, it's hinting that it might be in Matthew Berger or Andrew Buensalida's resumes, but it doesn't explicitly say that they have Python in it. So
how comfortable would you be making the decision, like a hiring decision, based on one of these searches? Or is that just the first step to just barely skim the surface?
yeah, I think in terms of the use case, this is good at is like summarizing data, like rephrasing, paraphrasing, but like filtering out who explicitly has Python or whatever. It might not be too accurate. So
I would be, I'm sorry, based on the use case and Homeland Security, I would be more curious about which one of the actual immigrants that are requesting asylum are filtered through this type of system.
Yeah. What's their background?
Right.
How do you know?
which one of the 2,000 resumes actually applies to what I'm looking for?
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, and then so after that, that's just the basics. So there's a line graph which you could evaluate how accurate your RAG responses are. You could do experiments like
That's LangSmith that you're using?
this is LangSmith. Since we decorated with traceable, like every time the function gets called, it gets included in here. So testing, so there's evaluations. So there's different ways to test. You could give it like ground truth answers. So you give it an example question, you give it the answer you want, and then you would test it, see if what the large language model's answer is, how similar it is to your ground truth, and it scores it. And after that, there's these things called agents, which basically uses the large language model to decide what tool to use. Tool is basically, it could be a Python function, it could be here, it could be like a Lambda call, it could be like a shell command, an SMS, or anything, custom tool. So basically, you could use the large language model to decide what to do next. And then there's memory too, because right now, if you ask it, like, what did I just ask you, or what is my name, it wouldn't remember the previous conversation unless you kind of store it in memory. And then there's land graphs, which is, it allows you to, I could probably talk about this like in the next meetup, but it allows you to, make, basically you could go in directions, and then if it's a cycle, you could go back to, there's like a main agent, and then it could delegate the task to like lesser agents, which have their own sort of area of expertise. Like, for example, this agent deals with flight reservations. This agent deals with hotels, and yeah. I guess that's my talk. If you want to get in touch, my GitHub, email, LinkedIn. Any other questions?
Yeah, question. Knowing that Matthew should have appeared in the contextual search, which areas of RAG would you optimize first, knowing that you failed to retrieve Matthew's history
Yeah, so the default K, which is the maximum number of chunks to return, was 4. So when I used that default, it wouldn't pick up. Matthew Borger had Python experience, but when I increased it to 10, it worked. But I don't think that's like the best use case for RAG, because I think keyword search would be better. Like if the chunk had some metadata that had a list of languages like Python, I think it would be more precise.
Does this all run natively, or are there cloud components in here that need to be pulled in or configured in such a way prior to using it?
Native. What do you mean native?
Native as in, like, are there any cloud components in here that so when you're running these models, so the data that you're using, the resumes are local, the data is local. All the libraries are local. But are there
any cloud components that are being pulled in or referenced in that complete inference?
Are you doing any web search or
Oh,
is there anything besides OpenAI's API that you're using outside of your laptop?
no, this is from the tutorial, LangChain, the documentation. So you could follow it. For the resumes, I just, downloaded some random resumes from LinkedIn, some random people. But you could use any corpus. Um, the tutorial uses like news articles. Yeah, but it also has a function where it could go out to the internet. If it so for example, in my agents app, I define here two tools. So the first tool is Tavily. They call it Tavily Search, which goes out into the internet and searches, for example, what is the weather in SF? It'll return these 5 results from different websites. So that's tool 1. And then the other tool, I just downloaded a Wikipedia page about cancer. So I made a tool. So it's either it could go out, use Tavily to search the web, or it could use this cancer search tool, which the corpus is local on this machine. And then so if you, for example, ask it how many people die of cancer, it was smart enough to use the local cancer corpus. What causes cancer? So the answer was majority of cancers, about 90%, are due to genetic mutations. So it used the local corpus, but then if you ask it what's the latest news on cancer, it was smart enough to go out into the internet and and use that and send it to the LLM and any.
So I was wondering if you tried this. So you mentioned that for the resume example, Rev is good for summarizing. So maybe make a summary of the resume, but not so much for searching or filtering. Have you tried having it summarize and then search through keyword search on the summary? Would that be an improvement or?
Okay, so
because it's the same.
Summarize first and then
Search the summary.
Search. Yeah, I guess that'll work. I haven't done it, but
I'm curious if that would be an improvement though, or if it would be well, if it's the same because the summary is based on the output anyway.
yeah.
You just have to build it, and then it depends on the set of questions that you ask it. It'll do better on some questions and worse on others, and it depends on, it'll do better on the filtering questions, but worse on the summarization questions, and so it's just, it depends on your use case, and so you have to have a test set and then evaluate it like you showed in LangSmith, and choose the hyperparameters that give you the best results for your users, for your use cases.
Sounds like something to try out.
Yeah.
A hybrid with the semantic on top of the keyword could be interesting too.
Yeah.
I think to launch one language model, maybe the quality of the question is a big factor. If you just use Python, who has Python experience, the question is too simple, not enough information. If I ask who has Python experience in biotechnology, that may get a more meaningful answer.
Yeah.
The question is like prompt.
Yeah, that's true. Like when I changed the question to who has Python experience amongst candidates or in their PDFs, it changes the answer a little bit, makes it more accurate. So yeah. Yeah. Other questions? All right. Thanks, guys. Oh yeah. Thanks, Tangible AI, for working with me and Hobson, giving me advice. Thanks.
Well, cool. That wraps it up. Thanks for coming, and thanks to all of our speakers. Remember, you can sign up to be a speaker too at a future meetup, san-diego-python.org. But thanks to our speakers, thanks to Qualcomm for having us, and thanks to Neo4j for supplying the pizza. We'll be back here next month. So see you then.
Also, a gentle reminder, we must be out by 9.
But yeah, if you're not in the board, you gotta get out.
Move it along. Yeah.
Go as slow as you want, as long as you got that.